I see.
Sana nodded several times after listening to Yuri's story.
So that's what happened. I mean, I'm sorry about back in elementary school. I didn't realize what you were going through.
No, like I said before, both of you really saved me at the hardest time. That's why I'm still so grateful to you, and I'm actually really happy that you came today. We went to different junior high schools, but I wonder if we'll still be friends?
Yuri blushed and fidgeted, looking at Sana shyly.
Of course, that's a given, right, Chris?
Sana looked a little awkward as she turned to Chris, asking for his agreement. After that, Yuri and Sana exchanged contact information. Chris doesn't have a cell phone, so he gave out his home phone number.
But you have really changed, Sakurai-san. You've become brighter and even cuter.
Sana said, smiling at Yuri after exchanging contact information.
Thanks, and you can call me Yuri.
Blushing, Yuri said.
Now that I think of it, you said earlier that you could summon demons, so the demon that appeared yesterday was definitely yours, right?
After hearing Yuri's confession earlier, Chris was certain that it was Yuri who had summoned the demon in the warehouse yesterday. Then Yuri suddenly fell silent. Seeing that, Sana glared sharply at Chris. Well, I guess you don't remember after all? Being glared at by Sana, Chris panicked, wondering if he had said something wrong, and hurried to take it back.
But, you see, from what you said earlier, the devil is your friend, so I don't think you had any ill intentions or anything like that.
Sana desperately tried to cover for Yuri, who had fallen silent. Sana seemed a little scared of Yuri. It's true that it's understandable to be scared of someone who casually picks up a dead cat, goes home, summons a demon, and becomes friends with it. Especially since yesterday she was about to be sacrificed.
Chris, can you tell me again in detail what the demon you saw was like?
Yuri suddenly looked up and asked Chris. Next to him, Sana looked embarrassed and anxious at Chris. Chris described the demon's characteristics in as much detail as he could remember. He also briefly explained how he defeated the demons in Miracorn and how he was able to do so. Yuri couldn't hide her surprise when she heard that Chris had defeated the demon. At the same time, a look of relief appeared on her face. After listening to Chris' story, Yuri put her hand to her chin and fell silent. Seeing this, Sana turned her gaze back to Chris. Her eyes were still filled with anxiety.
First of all, I really don't remember what happened yesterday.
Yuri explained, glancing back and forth between Chris and Sana.
I remember getting on the train after school. While I was on the train, I was suddenly overcome by a sudden wave of sleepiness, and the next thing I knew, I had collapsed in the warehouse.
Looking back and forth between Chris and Sana, Yuri explained. Her eyes were saying that she wasn't lying and wanted them to trust her.
But as you said, I think it was me who summoned that demon. And Sana-chan.
You can call me Sana.
Yuri nodded at Sana's words and continued.
Sana, you were certainly going to be sacrificed. But you definitely weren't going to be eaten. In exchange, there might have been a condition that something important to you as a girl, or a few years of your life, would be given away.
No way.
Sana said, covering her mouth with a terrified expression.
But no problem. Chris defeated the demon before it granted his wish, so there's no need to worry about anything being robbed from you.
Yuri said, placing a reassuring hand on Sana's shoulder.
Sana, I'm sorry, but I want you to believe this. I have no intention of sacrificing you to summon a demon of my own free will.
With her hand still on Sana's shoulder, Yuri looked into her face.
The fact that neither Sana nor I, nor that female teacher remembers, means that it must be the work of a demon. Because there are demons that can take over people's minds, control their actions, and erase their memories. A high-ranking demon called Sarlana. But in that case, of course, there must have been a sorcerer who summoned that demon.
When he heard the word, sorcerer, Chris thought of the faces of his classmates. However, he couldn't think of anyone who might summon demons. Yet, the moment he looked at everyone with suspicion, somehow everyone started to seem suspicious.
What do you think the purpose is?
Sana asked with a worried look on her face. Certainly, that was a concern. The purpose is to sacrifice Sana and manipulate Yuri to summon the demon. Why did that person need to use Yuri instead of doing it themselves? If they could summon the demon themselves, they wouldn't need to go to such a roundabout way.
Honestly, I don't know either.
Yuri said, shaking her head apologetically.
However, from what Chris has said, I think the demon that was summoned is probably a mid-level demon named Armini. I believe its ability is to recruit targeted people as allies, or to tear apart relationships between close friends. That may not sound like much, but on a larger scale, it could cause wars between nations. Or even put an end to wars. Of course, if you were to make a request on that scale, you would need to offer several sacrifices.
A demon that can cause and put an end to wars. Does this mean that all the wars that have occurred around the world so far have been caused by this demon? Or rather, it was the person who summoned the demon.
So, how big a request do you think they were planning to make this time?
I don't know. I think it was something to recruit someone into their ally, or conversely, to tear apart a friendship, something like that.
Is that something to do with me?
I don't know. But generally, it's effective to make a request for something that is closely related to the sorcerer or the person being offered as a sacrifice. The fact that they went to the trouble of making me the sorcerer and selecting you as the sacrifice means, I think they were probably trying to make a request for someone related to me or you, or someone they both have a common connection to.
When Yuri got that far, she and Sana suddenly looked at each other, as if realizing something. Then they both looked at Chris at the same time.